Bamboo locusts hit China. This year, the flying insect swarms are starting early and are frequent and numerous. Chinese authorities say it may become a new normal. A recent order has invalidated all privately held passports of regime-related staff in Wuhan. The ban may intend to block potential future whistleblowers from leaving China. Floods arrived in Beijing, 4 inches of rainfall in just 1 hour. Lightning, torrential rain, and high wind warnings were issued in Beijing. The latest virus whistleblower recounted how Beijing and the WHO covered up the key piece of virus information in the early stages, the virus's ability to transmit among humans. And in China's western Xinjiang, virus cases continue to climb. A biker in the region posted a video asking for help as he's trapped due to the lockdown. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Now we take a look at the emerging locust plague in China. According to China's Ministry of Agriculture, the yellow-spined bamboo locust has migrated from Laos to China this year. The ministry explained the insects are starting early and are frequent and numerous. The migration period could last until mid to late August. The Ministry of Agriculture said in the past 5 years, the frequency of migration of the yellow-spined bamboo locust from abroad has increased, and it may become a new normal. A video shows clouds of locusts flying across the sky in southwest China's Yunnan province. 3 days later, a cornfield was found to be full of locusts, and many plant leaves had already been eaten. A villager from Yunnan captured the local situation. He confirmed that the flying insects seen in the sky are all locusts. Mr. Dao, another villager, says locals continue to spray pesticides, but added it's hard to wipe out so many insects. He says the area has been plagued for about a month so far.
Wherever locusts go, they eat everything, no matter whether the fields are growing corn or rice, but their favorite is bamboo leaves.
According to Chinese media, these locusts have moved from Laos to the border area of Yunnan within the past month, plaguing over 20,000 acres of farmlands. Prior to this, local locust disasters have struck the northeastern provinces of Jilin and Heilongjiang, and the southwestern provinces of Hunan and Guangxi, among others. Chinese authorities are tightening control over private passports. A recent order has invalidated all privately held passports of regime-related staff in Wuhan. Netizens suspect the ban is to lock potential future whistleblowers inside China.
Wuhan's Public Security Bureau recently issued a notice ordering certain citizens to surrender their passports or declare their passports invalid. If they do neither, their passports will be cancelled. These people include staff from state organs, state-controlled companies, and institutions. The order will take effect on August 1st. But Wuhan is not the only area imposing the move. A regime clerk from the Xinjiang region told Radio Free Asia that all Chinese officials are prohibited from having their own passports. People from other provinces also reported that their passport applications were rejected. Authorities have stopped processing applications, either because of the pandemic or due to claims that other countries are too dangerous to travel to. On June 20th, China's Ministry of Justice enacted a law to punish government officials for any wrongdoings they commit. Included on the list of punishable offenses, Article 31 mentions leaving China or processing exit border documentation without permission. The law says doing so can lead to the loss of one's job or title. A Chinese economist shared the Wuhan notice on Twitter, writing, "It'll be too late if you don't leave China now." Another user commented that the order is to prevent the emergence of a second Yan Limeng. They're referring to the Chinese virologist and whistleblower who fled to the U.S. in order to reveal the inside story of the Chinese Communist Party's cover-up of the virus.
The latest virus whistleblower recounted how Beijing and the WHO covered up the key piece of information in the early stages, the virus's ability to transmit among humans.
Dr. Yan Limeng, a former postdoctoral fellow at the University of Hong Kong, fled to the U.S. in April. She was interviewed by Fox earlier this month. Yan has published 2 studies on the virus, one in the Lancet Infectious Diseases journal in March and another in peer-reviewed research journal Nature in May. She claims her supervisors at the university, who are also WHO advisors, buried information about human transmission of the virus. In a recent interview with our sister media, the Epoch Times American Thought Leaders program, Yan recounted the early stages of the cover-up. Her lab at Hong Kong University has been studying coronaviruses since the 2003 SARS pandemic. It's a top institution for coronavirus research. Growing up in China and having graduated from mainland Chinese universities, Yan said she was given a task in late December by her supervisor, Professor Liu Poon. She was instructed to use her connections in China to investigate the virus situation there. Her lab is affiliated with the WHO.
And as a WHO reference lab, they need to report what they know about the global health surveillance things to WHO and to the world. That's why Professor Liu Peng at the early beginning asked me to do the secret investigation representative of WHO reference lab to my network back to mainland China because lack of information from China government.
Through her scientist friend who works for the Chinese CDC, Yan learned on December 31st that there were clusters of infections among family members. She said that's a clear sign for human-to-human transmission.
It's not a difficult thing for you to make judgment. These things are the very basic fact you can get when you talk to the patient. And as a public health expert, it's very easy for them to build on the fact that this is human-to-human transmission or this is not human-to-human transmission.
But when Dr. Yan passed the information to her supervisor, Professor Liu Poon, he just nodded and told her to keep working. On the same day, Poon was quoted by Hong Kong media, saying there was no evidence indicating a link between the Wuhan virus and SARS. Yan also says Professor Malik Pieris, another WHO advisor and the co-director of her lab, knew about the outbreak yet said nothing. On January 9th, the World Health Organization released a statement saying there's no evidence the virus could be readily transmitted between people.
WHO behavior in this COVID-19 pandemic include lies and collaborate with CCP government, and also later misleading information like this is not pandemic, no point to keep China isolated, travel ban, right? And also no point to wear masks, and no point to take the hydroxychloroquine and all these things.
Yan said she had been secretly offering information to an overseas Chinese language media about what was going on inside Chinese hospitals and how the regime censored information. But Western media and governments didn't pay much attention to the information.
At that time, I realized that English-speaking country and Chinese-speaking country are totally isolated. Our message was efficiently delivered to our audience in Chinese, but overseas, when people face to this pandemic, they are misled by WHO and the Chinese government.
That's why she decided to come to the West and share what she knew with the world, but at great cost to herself.
When I'm still on the flight, the Hong Kong government informed the National Ministry of State Security in Beijing, and then they sent people to Qingdao, my hometown, to my home and threatened my family.
She said the regime also tried to destroy her credibility by setting up fake Facebook accounts in her name and spreading rumors about her on Twitter and Reddit.
Although I have a Nature paper as co-first author, they just describe me as a hamster keeper in Hong Kong. Like this. So they try their best to ruin me and ruin my credibility and stop me, keep me silent.
Yan said she will continue to publish reports on what she knows about the virus.
Everyone deserves to know the truth, and everyone get involved, your health, your economic, your life. So we should come back to the one who initiated this outbreak, CCP government, ask them to be accountable.
Hong Kong University confirmed Yan's identity as a fellow, but dismissed her accusations as hearsay. Chinese authorities have said they don't know Dr. Yan Limeng, and that China has always been transparent about the outbreak.
Now we look at China's virus developments. In the far western Xinjiang region, CCP virus cases continue to rise. Xinjiang is home to China's Uyghur population, an ethnic minority. Now the region is under strict lockdown, not only in big cities but also smaller areas near the border. The lockdown is so strict that a bike rider was stopped and forbidden from leaving. The rider posted a video on social media asking for help. He said he was biking towards a small county in Xinjiang, but authorities stopped him halfway there. So he rode back, but authorities at the other end wouldn't let him in either. As a result, he had no place to go and is unable to leave Xinjiang.
I can't go back now. There's no transportation available. All the counties and cities have been sealed off. If you want to get in, they don't allow it. If you want to get out, they also won't let you go.
By the time he posted the video, the man had been sleeping under a bridge for 3 nights.
There's nothing I can do. No food or drink nearby. I've been starving for over 10 hours.
The man was later allowed to leave the area after his post attracted attention online, though his original SOS post appears to have been deleted. Beijing sent surveillance tools and thousands of law enforcement officers to lock down Xinjiang. Meanwhile, Chinese media outlets have reported very little information about the outbreak. Authorities haven't been able to trace the origin of the outbreak, and local residents say they are under increasingly strict control. In its capital, Urumqi, residents say authorities use paper seals to get people inside their homes. Authorities forbid them from breaking the seal and from leaving their homes on their own. Now, residents rely on volunteers for grocery deliveries. In an interview with Chinese media, one resident said when volunteers come to deliver groceries, they will remove the paper seal. Then they stick them back on after the delivery. Turning to the northeast, the coastal city of Dalian just finished its large-scale nucleic acid testing. Authorities say they have sampled almost 4 million residents in the urban area and have plans to expand testing. One residential district is struggling with one of the worst outbreaks in the city. A resident said it's under lockdown. To protect his identity, we have distorted his voice.
Right now, you can neither come in nor leave this district.
And in his residential compound, authorities are responding to infected cases with extreme measures.
If a building has residents that are confirmed to have the virus, this building will be sealed off, and residents won't be allowed to leave, or they'll sent for quarantine.
Authorities say there could be community spread in the area. A powerful storm struck Beijing on Friday. The most affected area was drenched by over 4 inches of rainfall in just 1 hour. A total of 22 bus routes are affected and 7 of them are canceled. Lightning, torrential rain, and high wind warnings were issued in Beijing. The country's state-owned drainage group initiated a level 1 flood control response. All water pumping stations are now fully staffed. Though certain areas in Beijing experienced heavier rain than others, some accompanied by hail. Cars were seen half submerged, some still managing to drive through the conditions. During the storm, drivers reported difficulty seeing the road ahead. Tourists in the Forbidden City were also caught in the sudden rainstorm. They witnessed the city's stone dragon spitting water along some of its halls. The iconic dragon spitting water is actually part of a drainage system specially designed for the Forbidden City. Whenever a heavy rainstorm hits the city, the rainwater that collects at the base of the main hall drains away from the platform through these dragon heads. It's then sent falling into the moat that surrounds the city. Now to the Yangtze River. The main flow of the river remains well above its flood warning level. Anhui Province's Hydrology Bureau continued to issue red-level flood warnings on Friday. Inside the province, there are more than 30 rivers and lakes that have surpassed their flood alert levels. That's as the water level of one lake reaches an all-time high. The Provincial Bureau announced that about 150 arterial roads were blocked due to the floods on Thursday. 25 of them remain blocked on Friday. Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam is postponing the city's September 6th legislative election for a year. She said it's due to a spike in virus cases. It comes as a disappointment for pro-democracy groups who held a primary election just weeks ago.
Hong Kong's local government says it has delayed its legislative election for a year because of a spike in coronavirus cases. And it's a blow to opposition candidates who are going to ride a wave of resentment against Beijing to the polls. The opposition had aimed to win a majority in the Legislative Council, where half the seats are directly elected and the other half filled mostly with pro-Beijing appointees. The postponement of the vote comes after 12 pro-democracy candidates were disqualified from running. Among them was prominent protester Joshua Wong. Speaking at a news conference, he said his disqualification was invalid and ridiculous.
Even government censor me out from ballot. They can't censor my qualification to committed in the democracy movement in Hong Kong. And that's the reason they can't kill us all. Even they try to prosecute us, bar us to run for office, and silence our voice, we wish to try our best, lest our voice being heard around the world.
Lam, who is backed by the Chinese national government in Beijing, said she had to invoke an emergency law to make the postponement, and no political considerations were involved in the decision. Hong Kong has reported more than 3,000 coronavirus cases since January, far lower than in other major cities around the world. But for the past 10 days, the number of new infections has been in the triple digits. Nevertheless, government critics are likely to question the justification for the postponement.
The U.S. condemned Hong Kong's move and said it is a violation of the Sino-British Joint Declaration.
We condemn the Hong Kong government's decision to postpone for 1 year its legislative council elections and to disqualify opposition candidates. This action undermines the democratic processes and freedoms that have underpinned Hong Kong's prosperity, and this is only the most recent in a growing list of broken promises by Beijing, which promised autonomy and freedoms to the Hong Kong people until 2047 in the Sino-British Joint Declaration.
Hong Kong residents were disappointed about the Hong Kong government's decision and said political reasons may have played a role.
In comparison with other countries, Hong Kong's coronavirus situation is fairly stable, and for us to postpone it, it feels pretty down. I think there will be people who would think whether or not there were political reasons. It may not be about the coronavirus, it could be political.
China is stocking up on computer chips via Hong Kong before U.S. trade sanctions on the island take effect.
Chinese importers are buying more computing chips through Hong Kong in anticipation of U.S. sanctions on the island, which will make the trade much harder. Re-exports of semiconductors through Hong Kong to China jumped 11% in the first half of the year, compared to the same period in 2019. Re-exports, which is the export of foreign or imported goods, rose by 21% in June alone. The Hong Kong trade represents over 38% of China's total chip imports. After Beijing imposed a national security law on Hong Kong, the U.S. government revoked Hong Kong's special trading status, making future computer chip purchases more difficult for Chinese companies like Huawei, Xiaomi, or Lenovo. The Hong Kong Electronics and Technologies Association estimates there are 300 firms that specialize in the trade. It says trading companies in Hong Kong are thinking of setting up new offices in India, Vietnam, and Cambodia to continue selling to Chinese customers, but relocation will be costly. Economists say the new rules could cause a supply blockage for China, resulting in higher transaction costs for the Chinese tech industry.
The FBI is investigating if the Chinese regime tried to illegally obtain virus research from American universities. One university under investigation is the University of Texas in Austin. Law enforcement agents told university officials the probe comes after the U.S. shut down the Chinese consulate in Houston last week. The consulate was shut down amid allegations of espionage. The university is involved in virus research in many ways, such as tracking the virus spread across the country, as well as mapping the structure of the virus on a microscopic level. Last week, the university announced a breakthrough that could speed up vaccine development. They redesigned a key protein from the coronavirus. The university came under investigation earlier this year as well, when U.S. officials examined the university's relationship with Chinese researchers, including the lab in Wuhan at the epicenter of the virus outbreak. A Chinese national pleaded guilty to stealing scientific trade secrets and wire fraud. Li Chen admitted on Thursday to stealing trade secrets while she was employed as a researcher at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Ohio. Assistant Attorney General for National Security John Demers said in a statement, "Once again, we see the People's Republic of China facilitating the theft of our nation's ingenuity and hard work as part of their quest to rob, replicate, and replace any product they don't have the ability to develop themselves." He added it's not an isolated incident. Instead, cases involving the Chinese regime make up around 60% of all trade secret theft cases. Chen and her husband, who was accused as a co-conspirator, worked for 10 years in separate medical research labs at the Research Institute of Nationwide Children's Hospital. They were arrested in 2019 and charged with conspiring to steal at least 5 trade secrets related to exosome research while they were employed at the hospital. Her husband's case is still pending. Exosomes are simpler and safer than stem cells and are a key part of many medical conditions. Chen admitted that she stole the trade secrets to make profit. According to the plea agreement, she started a company in China to sell exosome isolation kits and received benefits from the Chinese regime. U.S. Attorney David M. DeVillis said Chen betrayed her employer of 10 years by stealing trade secrets from this American institution and transferring them to China after receiving payments from the Chinese government. 4 Republican senators are introducing a new bill to protect America from spies. Called the Protecting America from Spies Act, the bill will deny visas to anyone who has spied on or stolen intellectual property from the United States. Republican Senator Ted Cruz's office noted under current law, the Chinese Communist Party spies expelled from the U.S. have the ability to immediately reapply for visas. The Protecting America from Spies Act would update the Immigration and Naturalization Act to ensure past, present, and future espionage and tech transfer activity is considered inadmissible for entry into the United States. The bill also states that if the spying occurred within the past 5 years, the spouse and children of the alien would also be disqualified from obtaining or renewing a visa. Cruz said the Chinese regime has gotten away with espionage against the U.S. for too long without any consequences. The bill is being introduced in the House by Representative Vicky Hartzler. She said it is past time to stop known spies from China coming back into our country. 2 hackers linked to the Chinese Communist Party are accused of targeting multiple U.S. companies. One target is a leading virus vaccine developer.
Last week, the U.S. Justice Department made public an indictment of 2 Chinese nationals accused of spying on the U.S. One of their targets was biotech company Moderna. Moderna is a leading vaccine research developer for the CCP virus. The hackers, which are linked to the Chinese Communist Party, targeted Moderna earlier this year. Moderna is based in Massachusetts. The Trump administration has high hopes that the company can produce a vaccine and is supporting its development with nearly $500 million. Moderna confirmed that they had been in contact with the FBI after the incident. Moderna spokesman said that the company remains highly vigilant to potential cybersecurity threats. They maintain multiple teams to protect valuable information. The FBI and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services declined to disclose the identities of other U.S. companies also targeted by the Chinese hackers.
The Trump administration is working on a new initiative to encourage U.S. firms to move production out of Asia and into the United States, Latin America, and the Caribbean. President Trump's advisor of Latin America says the project could bring $30 billion to $50 billion in U.S. investment back to the Americas. The official told Reuters about the move but didn't give specifics. He did mention the U.S. government's nearly $800 million loan to Kodak as an example. The historic company will use the loan to start producing ingredients for generic drugs in the United States. And that's all for today's China in Focus. Thanks for watching and see you next time.